Hey guys, welcome back to GeekWaresASMR for another true crime video. Tonight's video is going to have like a warning on it. Some of the details of this case are disturbing, and I will be kind of glossing over some of the more disturbing words because y'all know how YouTube gets. I have been sitting on this case, I want to say since a couple months after it happened, because I've been waiting for the results of it. But now we have them, and I can tell you about Sade Robinson. 19-year-old Sade was born in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Sade Carlina Robinson moved to Milwaukee with her mother, Sheena Scarborough, before she turned 2. She then divided her time between Milwaukee and Florida, where her father, Carlos, lives. Sheena said that she and Sade's father never married, but they tried their best to co-parent. Sade was described as a curious child. She always wanted to explore. She enrolled in Milwaukee public schools and enjoyed Girl Scouts and playing soccer. Sade was described as a talented dancer, and her passion for the arts only intensified as she found joy in performing, rapping, and she even dabbled in ballroom dancing, which I think is so cool. In middle school, she became a part of the Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps, or the JROTC. Soon enough, she was a teenager attending Riverside High School on Milwaukee's east side, near the River West neighborhood. Sade excelled academically and socially, even graduating a semester early from Riverside in December of 2021. She did walk the stage with her class in 2022. After high school, she enrolled at MATC to pursue a degree in criminal justice, and she began working 2 jobs while renting her own apartment. And she had recently considered continuing her studies at Concordia University. So Sade worked 2 jobs, one of them at a country club and one of them at a place called Pizza Shuttle. She had worked at Pizza Shuttle for 3 years at the time of this case, and she was described as a customer favorite and a coworker favorite. Lifelong friends spoke about Sade in this case. Our friend Kara Quinnell, who met Sade in kindergarten, said she was the most beautiful girl in the world. Her laughter was contagious, and she was confident in the best ways possible. She was unstoppable, and not in an arrogant way. She described Sade as the fact that she would have been an amazing mother, because she was described as the best big sister to her younger sister, Adriana. Employees at the country club described Sade as having a smile that was almost like a superpower. She did this by working, balancing her hours at the country club and pizza shuttle. Quincy Alexander, who is described as an East Side legend, suffers from disabilities that make walking difficult, but he still trudges the area along Brady Street anyway. And he said that Sade would help him up the flights of stairs at the entrance to Pizza Shuttle, where the two of them worked together. Winston Milan's, another coworker at Pizza Shuttle, said Sade was that burst of energy that coworkers often give to each other to help motivate them. Winston said that she was a person that is the perfect example of who you want to be like. Her traits were remarkable. So, when 19-year-old Sade did not show up for her shift at Pizza Shuttle on April 2nd, 2024, her coworkers immediately suspected that something was wrong. The evening before, Sade had a first date with a man named Maxwell Anderson, age 33, at a local seafood restaurant. Now, I will talk about this some more, but there is an age gap, and I don't care, whatever, but I could not find out how the two of them actually met, and I'm really curious to know how it happened. So the two of them were going to a local seafood restaurant. She had been looking forward to it, even telling a staff worker in her building just how excited she was. So again, I don't know. Did I say Maxwell? Because I definitely meant Matthew. Okay, rewind. The evening before, Sade had planned a first date with Matthew Anderson at a local seafood restaurant. She was excited. She texted him that she was feeling seafood, and he suggested a place called the Twisted Fisherman on Canal Street. So she headed out to meet him at the Twisted Fisherman wearing ripped jeans and a white t-shirt. So for this part of the case, I'm going to go off of a timeline that I located. It is just easiest to explain via the times exactly what went on this night, so I hope it's not terribly confusing. At 5:20 p.m., Sade meets Matthew at the restaurant. The two of them have food and drinks at the bar. Matthew arrived first, and he told a bartender he was there for a first date. Staff later repeated this to investigators and confirmed that yes, Matthew did in fact used to work there. So the two of them leave the restaurant at around 6:30 p.m. They arrive at Sade's car at Duke's on the Water at that time. They arrive in Sade's car at Duke's on the Water. While they are there, she sends a Snapchat to one of her friends. The two of them leave the bar at 9:06 p.m. Now, Sade was served drinks at both of these locations, even though she was only 19. Now, the rest of this is just based off of CCTV footage and Sade's phone records. At 9:24 p.m., her phone is located in the area of Matthew's house on the 3100 block of South 39th Street. Surveillance videos shows two human figures arriving at the house in the night. At 12:41 a.m., Sade's phone leaves Matthew Anderson's home. It travels through Milwaukee's downtown and the area of Sade's apartment before continuing north. At 1:33 a.m., the phone travels the city's River West neighborhood. At 2 a.m., the phone leaves that area and heads to Warnemont Park, arriving at 2:45 a.m. At 2:53 a.m., surveillance cameras from Kudai High School, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, please correct me if you know, show a car heading toward the pump house at Warnemont Park. At 3:02 a.m., surveillance cameras capture a human figure descending the bluff to the beach level. At 4:31 a.m., the vehicle leaves Warnemont Park, and minutes later, Sade's phone loses battery. The next time is 7:29 a.m., and surveillance cameras capture a white male walking away from a car fire burning in a parking lot in the 1800 block of North 29th Street. A witness later tells law enforcement he saw the man exit the vehicle and toss a lighter into it before walking away. The man was wearing a gray hoodie, and he was carrying a tan backpack. At 7:32 a.m., the Milwaukee Fire Department responds to the car fire. The vehicle is a 2020 Honda Civic, and when they run the registration, they find out that it belongs to Sade Robinson. Inside the car was the clothing that she was last seen wearing and the remnants of her cell phone. At 8:35 a.m., video footage from a Milwaukee County Transit System bus shows Matthew Anderson, clad in his gray hoodie with tan backpack, getting off a bus near his house. Surveillance footage shows him arriving at home at 8:43 a.m. Sometime that same morning, I should have looked it up. City workers report that it appears someone used a car to ram open a gate to a service road leading to the pump house. And police later recover a broken piece of a vehicle that belongs to a Honda Civic. That very same day at 5:29 p.m., someone finds a human leg appearing to belong to an African-American female at Warnemont Park. The leg was found about 2/3 of the way down a 100-foot bluff toward the shoreline near the pump house. More than a week later, tests would confirm that the leg belongs to Sade. At 9 p.m., a friend of Sade's reports her missing to the Milwaukee police after she fails to return phone calls and show up for work. The Milwaukee police did not mess around. The next day, they visit Sade's apartment building, and they learn from the staff that she was last seen on April 1st. She had told someone there that she was excited for her first date. Sade's friends say that they had last heard from her during that Snapchat from Dukes on the Water. After seeing the news reports of Sade being missing, another friend tells investigators that she can track Sade's phone using the Life 360 app. The app reports Sade was in Warnemont Park at 4:30 a.m. on April 2nd. So we have two different police, I want to say squadrons, departments working on this case. That same day, Milwaukee police contact the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office because they have a missing person, and the Sheriff's Office has a leg. So they kind of connect the dots. On April 4th, he is arrested and his home is searched. At 1:16 p.m., they pull him over in his car and arrest him just blocks from his home. A hoodie found in his car matches the hoodie of the suspect who caught Sade's car on fire. a search warrant on Matthew Anderson's home. During the search, investigators did not locate any kind of gory scene. Detective Vance Curzon said they did find a photo on Matthew's phone of Sade. 2 photos, actually, that have been reported. One where she was lying face down on the couch and he was like grabbing her, and another photo that shows him removing some of her clothing. And that clothing was actually recovered in the trunk of her car after it had been burned. Vance Curzon also said that Warnemont Park, where the leg was discovered, is a place that Anderson knows well, and a place that he described as his secret beach. That was where he liked to go and think. Vance Curzon says one does not end up going out to dinner and drinks and end up being taken apart and discarded into Lake Michigan unless someone intends for that to happen. According to a confidential informant, Anderson had planned to do this to Sade for weeks. Apparently, he had been over at Anderson's house on March 5th, so almost a month prior. And Anderson had showed this person his basement, where there was a plastic tarp covering a sanitation sink, along with the ceiling, floors, and walls. This informant also saw 3 saws. He allegedly told this person that he intended to do this to Sade. Now, I don't know if it was actually to Sade or if it was just to someone. Obviously, this is a confidential informant, so they're not blasting out information everywhere, but again, I couldn't find out how long they were talking, so he very well could have targeted her, and either way, it just makes me sick. He went on to say, according to the filings, that he would use a pow-pow to force her down into the basement, where he planned to use it on her and then take her apart in the room, and then dispose of her around the city. I can't. On April 6th, more human remains are found. They actually were canvassing the area where Sade's car was found, where they find a human foot that appears to match the leg that was found in Cuddy. I should have looked that up, I'm so sorry. Other articles that I read said that other flesh was found in the area, but I don't know exactly what. All of this appeared to come from the same person. Now, members of Sade's family and the community have been extremely vocal in their criticism of law enforcement's investigation in Sade's case. Among the criticisms is that early on, community members found evidence in this case. So they found a blanket of Sade's in an area that the police had already searched. And so far, most of her remains had been discovered by community members. In addition, even though the police searched Anderson's house twice, community members have come forward stating that his father, Stephen, had been at his home removing items from the property. So given their distrust in the thoroughness of the authorities' investigation, Sade's family and friends are continuing to search for the rest of her remains. And I totally understand that, but I cannot imagine having to go through that. was, but they released pictures of this on social media before notifying the Robinson family, and they actually saw it on social media before the police told them. I can't. I can't. It was actually in Waukegan, so it was like 60-something miles from where Sade had gone missing. Sheena is absolutely distraught at the loss of her daughter, understandably, and this family has not been able to have a proper funeral for Sade. Veronica said in a statement on behalf of Sheena that Sheena is pleading with his parents to convince him to be honest and do one right thing in his life by confessing to where the rest of Sade's remains are located, so that she can be put to rest, and this constant daily torture of new discoveries of her body pieces can end. I cannot imagine. On Friday, August 1st of 2025, 2 months after his trial, Matthew Anderson was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Sade's family had some things to say at him at the sentencing hearing. Her sister, Adriana, described her older sibling as a protector and a role model. She said that Sade had a difficult childhood and was just starting to build a life on her own terms as she entered adulthood. What he did was so much more than just murder or take her apart, she said. He erased her independence, her ability to fight for herself. He tried to erase her existence and her value. Adriana described having to deal with the horrors that no 16-year-old should ever have to deal with. And she said that she has lost her ability to trust other people. I had to communicate with law enforcement, take care of my family, physically pick my mother up off of the ground, while also trying to deal with my own loss, because this man left them all too weak and broken to do anything. I cannot meet any person without the fear that they are going to harm or kill me, because all my sister did was meet someone, and as a result, he ended her life. During the hearing last Friday, the judge said that she was really troubled by how Anderson repeatedly gave statements that contradicted the evidence in this case. Judge Crivello said it just seems like he has a different view of reality than the rest of the world. And she said life in prison would be necessary to protect the public and would reflect on the severity of his crimes. I have to look at whether you are remorseful, and I do not think that you are remorseful in any way. I don't think you have gotten to the point of taking any form of responsibility for what has transpired. Sheena Scarborough referred to Anderson as a demon and said that he messed their entire community up. Sade's father, Carlos Robinson, also spoke out. Everything that he did should be done to him, Carlos said. No man should be able to live after what he did. That's just how I feel. I cannot get past this. Anderson's attorney, Anthony Cotton, encouraged the judge to make his client eligible for parole, citing his time in the United States Navy and apparent mental health issues, and the judge refused. Anderson spoke at his own sentencing, saying, "I would like to start by saying, from the bottom of my heart, my deepest and most sincere condolences go out to Sade's family, as well as everyone else affected by this tragedy. That being said, Your Honor, I took this to trial without his name really is Maxwell. I called him Matthew through the whole case. Whatever. Okay, irrelevant. The guy's a creep. I don't honestly, I'm not gonna refilm this to get his name right because he's a creep. I have not reported a case which absolutely horrified me like this one did in a really, really long time. As I said, I don't know how long Sade and Maxwell were talking, but it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter to me if they were talking for 6 months or 6 weeks or 6 days or 6 hours. This man took her apart and purposely hid her remains around the area. From what I read, the police were unable to determine when he did this to her. I mean, there's a 7-hour gap between when they arrived at his house and when they found the car on fire. So I have to think that he didn't do this in her car, but that he then put her in her car and moved her around the city. However, I find that kind of strange because there's surveillance footage of the two of them arriving at his house, but I didn't see anything about surveillance footage of the two of them leaving his house or him just leaving his house. I have to think that he burned the car to try to cover up evidence, but clearly it wasn't on fire for that long. I think like 3 or 4 minutes before the police arrived, or not EMS. They found her clothing in the trunk and her remains of her cell phone. This man planned this. Whether he planned to do it to her or she was just the one that got chose, I don't know. It's absolutely horrifying to me that we are still doing this kind of thing in 2024 or 2025. And the fact that this man, so he spent, that's what I was trying to look up when I found out I was saying his name wrong. Doesn't matter. Okay. He briefly served in the Navy from April of 2011 to January of 2012. So May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. So 9 months. You spent 9 months in the Navy, and your attorney tries to get you released on that fact. No. This man had several priors, like disorderly conduct and other domestic violence. So, yes, this may have been the first time that he actually completed his plan, but he's definitely pretty loco in the cabeza, if you ask me. And I think that if he were released on parole, that he would definitely do this again, because clearly he's delusional. Trying to say that he didn't do this. Okay, if you didn't do it, then who did? Like, I didn't see any sort of explanation from him about, oh, she left my house at this time and maybe somebody kidnapped her. No, I didn't see anything like that. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, sir. You're literally walking away from her car as you lit it on fire and walked away. I noticed that my camera is lagging. That's awesome. Sean and I have really been working on camera things lately. My poor patrons get all the kind of weird stuff. So hopefully that's not too distracting in this video. So sorry about that. So anyway, okay. I got sidetracked. You cannot try to tell me that someone else did this to her. her family is suing the Twisted Fisherman and Dukes on the Water for serving her because she was 19 at the time. I don't know if he put something in her drink. I don't know how he incapacitated her to the point where he was able to do this to her. The fact that he took pictures, and the fact that somehow there was no, like, gory scene at his house later that same freaking day. I cannot. So, yeah. It made me extremely sad that there was not more coverage in this case, because Sade has not completely been found, and I know that her family would like to find her and lay her to rest completely, and I cannot imagine what Sheena and Carlos and Adriana are going through. You know, Sheena said, this isn't a TV show, this isn't a joke, it's not, this is real life, this really happened to someone in their family, and I wanted to make a video about it so that more public knowledge to be brought to this case. That is one of the number one things I try to do on my channel. I am in no way trying to disrespect these families or trying to make it like a joke. I want knowledge brought to these cases because maybe there are other parts of Sade that were found even further away, and those counties or police systems have not connected the dots. There is no national index for these things, even though I believe that there should be. I think we've discussed that many, many times here on my channel. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm sorry if the lag in the camera and my voice is distracting. Sean and I are definitely going to have to work on that. I have been using my computer to do Zoom meetings and interviews lately because my office is closing and I've been trying to find a new job. So if you have any good